Hello, welcome to Ambition Unleashed podcast. I'm your host, Marcela Navarrete, and I am so excited to bring today's guest. He has been my mentor, friend, boss for many years, Mr. Dan Fleyshman.
Woo, woo.
Yay!
Ready to rock. Let's go.
Dan, thank you so much for being here. You are known for being the greatest entrepreneur and the most philanthropic person that most people have ever met. Can you share the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey? I know you've shared it with me many times when you were young selling clothes. Can you walk us through what that was like?
So the fast forward version is little Dan. I was 17 years old. I was working 3 different jobs at the same time, selling cotton candy at the stadium and working for a stockbroker and working at Ruby's Diner, just working a bunch of jobs to save up money because we didn't have much money. And I wanted to go to San Diego State University. So I saved up $43,000 over the first couple of years from 15 to 17. And I thought I was going to go to SDSU, and I went there for a little bit, for like 3 weeks. But at the same time, I started a clothing brand called Who's Your Daddy? And I trademarked the catchphrase for clothing, energy drinks, barbecue sets, and all these different products. By 18 years old, we did $1 million in sales. 19 years old, we did $9.5 million in sales. 23 years old, took it public on the stock market to focus on energy drinks. So we still did clothing, but now we're going to focus on energy drinks. Over the next 4 years, I didn't sleep. I got us into 55,000 retail stores selling these cranberry pineapple energy drinks and green tea energy drinks. And we made a 0 sugar, 0 carb, 0 calorie version. And then on the 10-year anniversary, when I started 17, I resigned when I was 27 on the exact date that we started the company. So I could put another feather in my cap. Started an online poker site with Dan Bilzerian, DJ Steve Aoki, all these fun characters. Within a year and a half, become the top 5 poker site in the world. And then 6 months later, online poker gets shut down in America.
I remember.
Wah, wah, wah.
I remember. So what'd you do?
That was the moment where I realized I didn't want to have all my eggs in one basket ever again. So I started my social media agency. I started consulting for big brands. I started investing in companies. I started throwing elevator nights, my free events. I started the Model Citizen Fund charity with you 11 years ago.
Yeah.
11 or 12 years ago. And so I started my charity, my events, my speaking. All the things happened from like losing this $65 million company overnight. I actually was the best thing that ever happened to me from a business perspective because it allowed me to flap my wings and start all these other things.
Now, how do you decide which company to invest in? Because you're involved with so many things, from selling baseball cards and Pokemon cards to the acai bowls. How do you know what makes it a good investment? Like, what do you look for?
The person. I'm betting on the person, right? So if like Marcela was selling tables, or she was selling podcast mics, or pink sweaters, or jewelry, or watches, or shoes, I would still bet on her to win. So the product is actually interchangeable. The person is who I'm really trying to find. They're the rare unicorn that I want to bet on. And so I use this example with Jeff Fenster from Everbowl. I put in $500K back in 2018 into acai bowls when I was like, I'm not going to invest in restaurants. And I did it because of him. Same thing. If he was selling pillows or watches or pink sweaters, I would have put in the same amount of money betting on him to win. So the first thing I look for is the entrepreneur. The second thing is, do people care? And you can tell if people care because they vote with their wallets. So has Marcela sold a bunch of pink sweaters? She sold 40 grand of pink sweaters. I can help her sell 4 million. Has she sold podcast mics and sold 200 grand? I can help her sell 2 million. Like, is the thing that the entrepreneur is talking about or passionate about, do people care about it as much as they do? And can it be sold when she's not there? Can pink sweaters be sold when Marcela's not there? Or podcast mics or shoes, whatever the example is. Can her product be sold when she's not there to be like, buy my amazing product? And if they do that, and if they care, and if they vote with their wallets, that's what I want to invest into. And then I got to back it up with facts. So now I got to see, is there accounting and financials and operators and staff? Like, are they going to be able to scale this thing? And if they are, that's where I want to put the money into. I want to help them scale it with the capital, but also with my resources.
Now, is there like a secret recipe that you use for every business? Like you invest a certain amount of money in marketing or a certain amount in merchandise? Or is it just kind of, does it change depending on the business?
Yeah, every company is completely different, even if at the beginning they stay the same. Meaning, Marcela might show me a business plan, and then Jeff showed me a business plan, and Roger and Twist, and everyone has a different business plan. Nothing will be the same after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from their business plans. Nothing. How much they spend on marketing, staff, offices, conventions, booths, accounting, legal, travel, expenses, all the things, all going to be completely different and all have different reasons for it. Some will be right, some will be wrong, some will be totally off base, some will be genius, some they didn't think of. All these things will happen over the course of that business's career. And so there is no magic formula. Ideally, you're supposed to be spending 5 to 15% of your gross sales on marketing if you want to scale fast. That's in theory. When things are going really well, spend more. That's pouring gasoline on the fire. When things are going bad in the economy or bad for your business, spend less. Take it slow. Try to be more creative. And so for the most part, there are certain things like I know I'm going to spend X on legal. I know I'm going to spend Y on accounting. There are certain things that have a pretty steady number of what you're going to spend. But when it comes to marketing, staff, conventions, booths, and things like that, that's a very variable number, and it's okay for each company to be different.
Okay, so that makes sense. Now, you interview people, hundreds of people, all across the United States. What is one piece of information that you found to be the most valuable out of everyone that you've spoken to? Like, what's that one thing you're like, oh gosh, I wish I knew that when I was younger?
The one thing is to sign contracts with everyone, even when you're close with them.
Okay.
So it's not that you're going to sue them, it's you're going to prevent you guys from suing each other. And a lot of times you have different thoughts about what you think of what I said. So let me give you an example. Hey, Marcela, I want to invest $100,000 into selling pink sweaters. You're like, Dan, that's great. Let's do it. And then a month later, we didn't talk much. And then you send me a contract of like, hey, here's the $100,000 contract. And I thought I was going to get 20%. And you thought I was going to get 1%. Well, that's an easy conversation.
Sure.
I thought I was going to get to be on the board of advisors. And you didn't offer me a board seat. I thought you wanted to sell at retail stores. And you thought, oh, we're only going to sell online. I thought you wanted to go out and put up pink sweaters everywhere, and you actually wanted to do pink, blue, red, purple, rainbow, and all these other colors. I didn't know that. These are all things that could have been done at the beginning in our contract where we just say, hey, Marcela, are we just going to do pink sweaters? Like, no, Dan, I like to do unicorn, red, blue, etc. Okay, we can talk about it. Hey, I like to get 20%. You're like, oh, I was thinking more like 1%. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. Okay, 10%. Having these discussions at the beginning will set you up for life in a much better fashion because oftentimes you think that you communicated correctly. It's very different when you type it out and put it onto a legal document.
Sure, and there's probably a lot of miscommunication when people are speaking, or if you're just talking via text, you don't know the tone and you're probably just assuming things.
There's a lot of assumptions.
Yeah, which can be bad in business. So now you also have an animal sanctuary, you have a military tactical training facility on your ranch.
Yeah.
What made you branch out into such diverse things?
So the ranch stemmed from Casey. She likes animals. And then I convinced the real Tarzan to move from Miami to the ranch. And so that made it evolve and escalate really quickly because he's the most famous animal influencer in the world. And so at first it was like, hey, we're going to get a ranch and we're going to put horses and zebras and some animals and let's get some cows and things. And then all of a sudden Tarzan gets there and there's ostriches and, camels and 16-foot snakes, etc. And so it evolved from that part of it. I was already doing the Operation Black Site, our military training and UFC fighting type training. We were already doing those events every quarter at different locations. And so with the ranch, we just started having the events there often. And so we built like the whole military obstacle courses and shooting ranges on one side, animal sanctuary on a different side, and then different aspects of it like the ATV course and lake and basketball. Those are just things for people to do when they're on site for an event. And so all those things just evolved over the course of time. And I'm sure the ranch will look much different next year, the year after, and 10 years from now. As things evolve in our life and around people's lives in our circle, we're going to keep evolving the place.
And I've seen it grow so much, just I feel like in such a short time. How many animals do you have on your sanctuary
188.
now? Wow.
It's an Excel spreadsheet. That's why I know exactly.
Wow. And that seems like such a big ordeal to remember when to feed them and what to feed them. And
yeah, there's 12 full-time employees that their world is those animals. There's a lot of poop to clean up.
Yeah.
188 animals and they go poop multiple times. You can do the math. That's a lot. So there's 2 employees that's all they do. And they love it. They're there out there in the, there's good weather most of the year and they're getting to interact behind the scenes with these animals. So it's a fun experience for them. And then the feeding, it's multiple times a day, obviously. And they have schedules and whiteboards and spreadsheets. And I have 5 different group chats with all the staff. Like it is not just a full-time ordeal. It's a 24-hour ordeal. And it's so fun. And the experience is when people come there and visit and they get to go behind the scenes and actually interact with a zebra and interact with a camel and like be there with an ostrich. It's different than just being at the zoo. We're not open to the public. It's just we do private tours and private events and things like that. But I love seeing the reactions when you're like seeing these little 4-year-old kids like, oh my God. And then you see like an 80-year-old grandma and she's like, oh my God. You get to see the reaction. It's amazing.
it's so amazing. We have to bring our baby there. I've been wanting to take her.
Anytime you want.
So we'll be there soon. And now I remember calling you when the Griffith ponies, they were looking for a place to send the ponies because they were shutting down. And I called you. And I remember thinking like, oh, I know the superhero that can save the day. I'm going to call Dan. And you were already on it. And you're like, oh, we're already rescuing several of them. And ever since I've known you, philanthropy and just giving back and serving the community has been such a big part of who you are. Why do you think it's so important to give back?
So I think it's important for people to do it, brands to do it, businesses to do it, families to do it together, staff to do it together within companies, because they need purpose. And it's a small amount of money, time, and energy can change someone else's life forever. It doesn't impact someone to go spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours from their timeline of their life. But for the person that they're giving the 1, 2, 3, 4 hours to, it changed their lives forever. And so when you think about how little it is for you to give $100 or $500 or $1,000, how little it is for you to give 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours is so huge for the person on the other side that doesn't have anything. And a lot of times they don't have hope. And so just seeing that you're actually showing up to a toy drive or Thanksgiving food drive or a homeless shelter, that part to them is big, because a lot of times people just have lost hope. Yeah. You show up to a senior citizen home or to a children's hospital. The senior citizens sometimes haven't seen their family for years, and then you show up to spend time with them. You've given them hope. And so it's not, when I talk about charity or post about charity all the time, it's very rarely about the money. You don't really see Dan like, here's a $100,000 check. That doesn't happen, right? Yeah. I'm there to showcase how we can raise $100,000. Okay, if everybody gets together and puts in $10, $50, $100 each, and all of you guys show up and 300 people show up and do X, Y, and Z, that's how we can do it. And here, by the way, you can replicate it in your city. And that's what I really push the most, if you notice. I want people to replicate these charity things in their cities. And so I just feel like the butterfly effect of what I can create is, if I can showcase charity, make it easy for them, that to me, the butterfly effect is huge, because then people start replicating all over the country, hopefully all over the world.
And I think I've already seen it on the news, your tipping club that you've started. Oh, yeah. I saw it showcased somewhere.
It was on the freaking cover of Apple News like a week ago.
Wow.
I got an alert. I'm like, what just happened? Because I have like a Google alerts for a name or in each business or brand. So I go Google alert, and then literally the Apple thing said on the top of it. So I screenshot it and started sending it to everyone. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like, it went from a thing that we started during the shutdown, you know, these $100 tipping clubs and $1,000 tipping clubs. So all of a sudden, like, the news started picking up, and then when Apple News did it and like the huge Washington Post did it, then it got super viral. And so what's nice about it is it's getting so big that it's way beyond me. There's thousands of people throwing tipping dinners that have no idea who I am, how it started, and I'm perfectly happy about that. I don't need the pat on the back. I want those thousands of tipping dinners to become tens of thousands, and not hundreds of thousands, all over the planet, because of the end result of what it is and the fact that people are doing charity together. It's just that part of it I'm obsessed with. And the fact that so many people are doing these tipping dinners now is fantastic. So if you're listening to Marcela's podcast, get 4 of your friends together or 10 of your friends together, pitch in $100 each, whatever you can afford, go to a restaurant, and then just surprise the waiter or waitress with this $800 or $1,200 or $2,000. You will make their life so happy and so excited. And you're going to hear a lot of stories like, oh my God, I wasn't going to be able to pay my rent. Oh my gosh, I needed this for my baby. Oh my gosh, like the stories, like emotion behind it is, it's I can't even explain.
Dan, it's incredible. I've had the privilege of watching you change so many lives for the better, and it's been such an honor just being a part of your life and knowing you for so long. And I'm so thankful that you took the time to be on the show today, and I learned so much from you, and thank you for always listening to me and my crazy ideas. And I just appreciate you so much. And you also have a podcast. You want to tell us real quick about your podcast too?
So I have a podcast called The Money Mondays. We're very blunt. We just talk about 3 core topics: how to make money, how to invest money, and how to give it away to charity. And then I interview different celebrities, athletes, business people, entrepreneurs, etc., about how to make money, invest money, give it away to charity. But before we go, we got to talk about Model Citizen Fund. So Marcela's been helping with that for, I think it's 11 years now. It might be 12 years.
It's been a while.
And Model Citizen Fund is for the homeless. And we make backpacks with 150 emergency supply items inside. Half of it's food and drinks. The other half is a poncho, watch, sleeping bag, blankets, etc. So that when we give these 14 pounds of supplies to someone that's homeless or at a women abuse shelter or an orphanage, etc., they feel like they got a lot of stuff. Now, it's not going to change their life forever, but there's a lot of supplies in there that'll last them for years. And the food and drinks and snacks are only going to last them for about a month or two. The concept of it is how we can do this at scale. This has all been practice. Marcela and I have been practicing because there are 3 core topics that I want to cure over the course of time. And I need someone like Marcela to help with the execution of it. And I need the world to help get behind it. Because if you really think about it, in third world countries especially, 3 main things they need to survive. It's food, water, and shelter. Curable, curable, and curable. These are very curable things when you really think about how many humongous corporations there are, how much money there is on the planet now, how many rich business owners and executives and CEOs, etc., what they could do to fix these things, removing the government side of it. Yeah. And I'm not talking about anti-government. They're just really slow, and there's a lot of red tape. So like you see in LA, we donated $2 billion to homeless, but we're still stepping over the homeless in so many, Hollywood, downtown, everywhere. For tens of millions, you could fix what we're seeing. Hundreds of millions, you can make it amazing. For billions of dollars that they have.
You've even tried, because we've spoken about this, you've even tried buying buildings to house the homeless yourself.
There's so much red tape behind it.
And you couldn't.
It's not allowed. And so my goal and the whole concept is I want to practice getting these charities right. I cover all the overhead for Model Citizen Fund for years. So build credibility so when it's time and I say, hey, here's how we can fix water in third world countries, or here's how we can fix homelessness, or here's how we can fix food in these third world countries, I've built up enough credibility with enough people all over the planet that they're got the money to help execute it, have the people that are personally down to actually physically go do these things, and the world can help me replicate it. And I believe that we're on a really good trajectory now with how big the media is getting behind what we're doing and how they can physically see. We have the world's largest toy drive. This tipping dinner is humongous. Model Citizen has been around for over a decade. I'm building all these credibility things so that in that moment when I finally say, okay, guys, it's time to go donate and do this to cure food, people are going to get behind us. And so I just want to thank Marcela for being a part of this 11-year journey because we got a lot more years to go. And so it's just an important topic for people to think about charity.
And it's been amazing. And just to sort of, again, repeat what you said, 100% of the proceeds go towards Model Citizen Fund. So if you make a donation to Model Citizen Fund, whatever you donate, all of it goes towards backpacks for the homeless. And then Dan covers all of the overhead. So there is no concern about $1 even
there's no office,
being
there's
spent, towards anything else. And the best way I like to describe Model Citizen Fund is I say that we like to save the world. We're sort of like superheroes. And when there's a natural disaster, when there's an emergency somewhere, Dan's the first one that says, okay, Marcela, let's go here. Let's plan this. We will be anywhere in the world. And we just love helping people. So hope you'll go and donate at modelcitizenfund.org.
Or go make your own backpacks or make Ziploc bags and go give it out to the homeless because that's what the efficiency is what you guys can do out there. You can make backpacks for the homeless. You can make emergency supply bags. You can fill up Ziploc bags and go with your staff or your family and give to the homeless.
So we hope that you implement that in your community. Thank you again, Dan. I'm so grateful that you were here today, and I can't wait to have you again on the show.
I'm ready. Let's go. Let's just do it again.
Thank you.